Hello, good morning. I hope that everybody is well. It's been a very odd week here this week. It's been exceptionally hot and we've had temperatures way up in the 90s, and the average home in the UK does not have air conditioning, and the heat has been something else to cope with. I've also had an attack of vertigo, which was very unpleasant, and I put my back out, so it hasn't been a good week health-wise. Next week we have got a printed booklet releasing, and that sampler is an amazing sampler, so keep a lookout next week for the announcement on that sampler. But because of that, this week I've had to lift lots of heavy boxes, and this has happened several times now when I've been lifting boxes of charts. My back just pops. So because of all of that, I haven't really done any stitching, so I haven't got anything worthwhile showing you for my work in progress this week. But I do have some other things to talk about in the video. Now, on Thursday, I think it was, we released another little gem, and that is Jane Hardy, and she is the sweetest, most delightful sampler. Here she is. Her colours are so merry. I really love this little sampler, and you'll notice that Jane wrote or stitched the 4 in reverse in the date 1840. Now, this isn't uncommon in very young children, and that could be one of the indications that this little girl was maybe just 7 or 8 years of age when she stitched a sampler. We don't know because she hasn't put her age, and Jane Hardy, both Jane and Hardy are sort of relatively common names in the UK, but because of that reversed 4, I do think that she was probably a very young child. She's delightful. Now, her PDF download is available on our website for you to download, and if you do purchase the little gem, and many of you already have, you actually get a 30-page download, and you don't need to print it all off. What I suggest that you do is, when you complete your purchase, you will receive an instant email with a download link. Open the download and save it. Don't exit without saving it. Save it to your device. And from your device, you can print the booklet or the pages of the booklet that you want. Now, you get a front cover with a nice picture of Jane. You get a story, a stitch guide, and a thread legend. What you will then get are 2 12-page graphs, one in colour and one with black and white symbols, and they are a nice size, so they are clearly legible for most people. And then you will get 2 pages that look like this. Now, these pages are not intended to be printed. These pages are intended to be viewed from your iPhone, your iPad, your laptop, or your PC, or even your television if your device is linked to your TV. And what happens with this is that you can stitch from this just with 1 page with no overlaps. So it will look like that, but what happens is you can just blow this up and you can work from it on your phone, tablet, laptop, PC or TV screen. And because there are no overlaps, you can work around the whole chart without having the with overlaps, they always happen in the wrong place where it makes working from them difficult. Now, I've been working or stitching from these one-page PDFs for a very long time. And basically I just put my phone, where I have my frame and my linen, I just put my phone on the linen, and it's right there, nice and large, and I can just flick around, you know, and just stitch from the graph like that, so much easier. And several of our model stitchers, they like working from these one-page graphs as well. So I'll be interested to hear what the feedback is on them. I know that many of you like stitching from your devices, so I'm hoping a one page with no overlaps will make it easier for you. Now, a little bit of information about Jane. She is worked just with cross stitch over 2, so she's suitable for Ada, Lin-Ada or linen, and for needleworkers of all abilities. With the download, you have a thread legend for Auvert Soir 103 and D'Alger and DMC. Now, I stitched Jane using my favourite silk, which is Auvert Soir's 103. Such a beautiful silk to use, and I get so spoilt being able just to pull the strand off the reel, snip and work away. And I love the way that silk feels as it goes through the linen. Now I used 5363 Legacy Linen Gothic Ivory, and it was a lovely linen to use, really lovely quality, and although this colour is lighter than I normally stitch with, it was a very good match for Jane's sampler, her original sampler. Now the stitch count is 211 stitches by 174 stitches. So if you stitched her on 14 count Ada, 28 count linen, she will be 15.07 by 12.43. On 18 count linen, Ada, 36 count linen, she will be 11.72 by 9.67. And 46 count linen, she would be 9.17 by 7.57. Or if you stitched her on 5363 with the lower stitch count on the horizontal, and I do specify that in the download, she will be 7.96 by 5.52. She is a really delightful sampler. I just wish that we could have found out a little bit more about Jane, but you know, Jane and Hardy are both common names in the UK. The two fir trees in Jane's sampler are found on many Scottish samplers, and Hardy did originate in Scotland, so it is possible that she may be a Scottish sampler, but really I don't know. She's an English, or so I should say a British sampler. Sorry, you've got Bertie's tail, Bertie. Now, what else have I got to talk about? Agnes Husband. Now, she was a little gem that we released last week, and I was absolutely delighted to receive an email from a lady, another needleworker who lives in the US, to say that she had Agnes's sister's sampler, and I just thought that was really, really lovely. It just goes to show how social media really makes the needlework a very small place. And I love hearing and finding out about connections between samplers. Now, I also this week received a book about Wigton, and look at those little children. Some of those children have got boots and shoes, and some of them are barefooted. And I just think, oh, bless their little hearts, those children going to school with bare feet. We're very lucky in the Western world today. Now, in this book, it was a delight just to find out a little bit more about Wigton. But what was very interesting was this photograph. And this photograph shows the houses, and Agnes lived in one of these houses when she retired as a housekeeper and went back to Wigton. So we know that Agnes Husband's sampler would have hung in this street. And I know it's just a little sideline, but I love finding out things like this. And I've really enjoyed going through this booklet. Also, this is, these three photographs show the High Street in Wigton. But unfortunately, we don't know which side of this street is the north side and which side is the south side. Agnes grew up in one side of this street, and that's where her father had the normal school. And I didn't say what a normal school was in my video last week because it was in the trivia section of the download, and I didn't want to spoil it for people who would have read about it in the booklet or the download. But I can tell you that a normal school in Scotland was a school where bright children were taught normal education, and then after their normal school day they were trained to be teachers, so they were pupil teachers. And this was something that was done in Scotland. Scotland really did lead the way in Britain with education. And I think this is why so many Scottish people went out around the world as doctors, missionaries, people who invented things, bright people, because even if you were poor in Scotland, you had a better chance of a good education than you did in England, because Scotland put so much into their education system and the quality of their teachers as well, and training teachers so they were properly taught to teach. In England, you often found people with no qualifications and really that didn't have the skills to teach, setting up schools. Well, the pupils that attended those schools didn't have a very good chance of being taught properly if the teachers themselves were not properly educated and taught how to teach. Anyway, I'm starting to digress. I wanted to show you this. I don't know if it's going to show up in the screen. Oh yes, it is going to show up. Can you see the shadow of a sampler on this board? I just thought I would show this because not everybody gets the chance to see the insides of these old samplers. This backing board has come out of a frame and been removed from the sampler. Now the sampler in question was just glued to the edges of this, but this wasn't glued. The impression of the sampler has been left on this board because the sampler has absorbed the colours off the board. I just thought that was really, really interesting for you to see. And you'll see the sampler that was sat on this board being reproduced by Hands Across the Sea samplers. This is why samplers discolour, because they're put on unstable boards, because really they didn't have the understanding hundreds of years ago about how to conserve or sort of frame and mount these samplers to make sure that they didn't get damaged over the centuries. I bet a lot of these little girls are really surprised that their samplers have lasted hundreds of years. I've also taken Agnes Husband out of her frame. Now, I've done that because the glass that was on her frame was an odd glass, and it really distorted being able to see the sampler behind it. And this sampler, I'm now charting this, and it will come out as a release at some time, probably next year, for Hands Across the Sea samplers. This sampler is the giveaway prize for those people stitching Anne Morrison, and it's in really lovely condition. And what I want to do, I want to put this back into the frame with a good quality piece of glass that doesn't obscure the beauty of the sampler, so that whoever wins the sampler, when they receive it, it'll be much nicer with a good piece of glass rather than the glass that was in it. This is a very, very pretty sampler. Talking of the Anne Morrison stitch along, it's getting very close now to Janice shipping the booklets out. Oh gosh, look, you've got Bertie's tail. Bertie, come here. Come on. You're going to sit. There's a clever. You stay there because Mum's not going to be very long. So Janice is going to be stitching, shipping these booklets, starting, I presume, in this forthcoming week, or the end of this forthcoming week. She's going to make a start. There are literally hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of them to ship. I really don't envy her that job. We're now going to the 3rd print run on Anne Morrison. So it's been an amazing response to the stitch along, so thank you very, very much. Oh yes, and what I was going to say is that, just to clarify about the New Zealand sampler Heather M. Jardine, when Janice ships the Anne Morrison charts out, you will receive the link so that you can download Heather M. Jardine. Everybody who purchases Anne will get a free copy of Heather M. Jardine. Oh, and with Heather, after I released her I released the video talking about Heather, I had a phone call from a New Zealand lady, and she told me that how to pronounce the name of the town where Heather's father was from, which I spelt as W-A-I-R-O-N, is Wairau. So Heather's father came from Wairau in New Zealand, and I had a wonderful conversation with this lady, and it turns out that her family, like her mother, her grandmother, her grandparents, were from Wairau, and they probably knew Heather's father. See, it's a small world when it comes to the needlework world. Anyway, I'm sorry I've got no stitching to show you. Hopefully I will in the video next weekend, but keep an eye open for my little pop-up video in the middle of the forthcoming week, when we release one of the most beautiful samplers I've ever seen. It really is a beauty, and we're so excited to share her with you. And I think that we're very good keeping these a little bit of a secret until we release. It's so tempting to go, look at this, look at this, look at this. Anyway, you've got lots to enjoy in the meantime with Agnes and Jane, just a few of the samplers. Anyway, stay safe, stay well, and until the next time. Oh look, this little boy is going to pop up just as I'm saying goodbye. He knows he's going for a walk now. His daddy can't walk him today because his daddy's playing golf. He's got an extra game of golf this week. Anyway, bye-bye.